All right, so it looks like we got ourselves a new Travis Scott release approaching, one of the biggest names in sneakers, releasing some of Jordan Brand and Nike's most hyped collaborations throughout the years. Now, as far as this upcoming release, it feels like absolutely nobody is talking about these, so today we're gonna find out why as we take a look at the history of some of the most memorable Travis Scott releases. Guys, if you enjoy these updates, make sure you smash the like button down below. If you're new here, be sure to subscribe. You're watching John Alexander TV. Let's jump right into it. Now that boy Travis, he's definitely came a long way. I remember seeing him perform in some warehouse back in Miami. This was right around when Days Before Rodeo had dropped to now where he's at, pretty much selling out stadium tours all across the country. And he's definitely came a long way as far as his sneaker journey, which I want to say began around like 2017 with Nike and Jordan Brand. And most people actually don't know that Travis's very first Jordan Brand collaboration happened to be on the Jordan Trunner, which is a sneaker which originally dropped back in the early 2000s, kind of went out of circulation, but we did see a Travis Scott pair surface. Now, this actually didn't officially drop as a retail release, but the story about this one is that these apparently turned up at some Nike outlets later on, which kind of made this like a cult classic type of sneaker. Now, as far as like the first big Travis Scott Nike release, which kind of made some noise, you have the Travis Scott Air Force One, which when these dropped, Nike was doing this big like bring back the Air Force One promotion, which I want to say took place at Complex Con. So there was various Air Force One collaborations from like Rockefeller to Don C, you name it. And as far as this Travis one, this happened to be one of them. The interesting highlight about this one, of course, you got the gum bottom as well as various removable swooshes, which you could customize to your liking. So of course, back in that time, 2017, this was a huge deal. And they went on to later release the Travis Scott Air Force One for an official retail release later down the line, but it was a slightly very modified color, a little bit more sail compared to the white first canvas pair that you guys see pictured right here. Now, as far as the Travis Scott Jordan 4, this is where things started to really shake up. These dropped back in 2018, and I remember this drop like it was yesterday. When these dropped, you know, of course, there was some buzz surrounding Travis Scott's name. You know, he was a rising artist at the time, but this sneaker really kind of took off. You know, months after the release, we started to see the resale price really like skyrocket. And this is one of the moments where like the Jordan 4 really became like a huge trend. So of course you guys see it, these were based off the Houston Astros colors. So it had a little connection to Travis Scott's hometown. And these joints were just dope, man. And still to this day, like one of the most memorable and iconic Travis Scott releases to this day. And we still never seen Jordan Brand drop another Travis Scott 4, although there were some samples floating around. But I feel like none of them samples really topped this original retail release. Even though some people did complain about like the quality and everything, the kind of suede material wasn't too great over time, but still an iconic, memorable Travis Scott drop. And can y'all imagine these dropped all the way back in 2018. So moving forward, of course, they started to mix things up with some more Jordan retro models. We saw them drop the Travis Scott Jordan 1 Mocha. This is the high top version, which when these dropped in 2019, like the Jordan 1 popularity was probably at an all-time high. Mix that up with the Travis Scott cosign, and of course, this is where it all started off with the reverse backwards swoosh, the design element, which kind of set things off and has became a staple for the Travis Scott brand moving forward. So yeah, these joints were definitely the ones, one of the most hype releases of that year. Everybody was looking to get their hands on these. So featuring the iconic brown, which has been a staple as far as Travis Scott releases, the Mocha. You guys already know what time it was with these, bro. Like, just crazy times in sneakers, man. So moving forward, we then saw Jordan Brand drop the Travis Scott Jordan 33, which at the time, this was the debut of the Jordan 33. Nobody really cared about these. So although an interesting take, you know, a little blip on the map in the history of Travis Scott releases, but nobody really seemed to care about these. So we'll just go ahead and keep things moving. Next up, we got the Travis Scott Jordan 6. So first they went with the 4s, then they hit us with the Jordan 1s, and then the 6s, featuring that lovely shade of olive green. You had the little stash pocket in there, the Cactus Jack branding going on with this one. This was another big release from Travis Scott. We did see some other Jordan 6 samples float around, and then they did drop that kind of sale tan Travis Scott 6 later down the line. And then as far as Travis Scott Jordan retros, things started to kind of slow up from there. We did see them drop the Jordan 1 lows, and from here, it's pretty much just been nothing but Jordan 1 lows. But I would have to say this low top has definitely been a staple and kind of a big changing point for the trajectory of the Jordan 1 moving forward. You see, nowadays, it almost feels like the Jordan 1 low is almost kind of more popular than the Jordan 1 high. I feel like it's more wearable. And at one point, Jordan 1 lows were kind of like trashed by sneakerheads, but with Travis Scott coming through with the backward swoosh, a low top version of the mocha pair, which we saw arrive the year prior, these joints were an automatic smash hit, and really changed the trajectory of Travis Scott releases moving forward. Like I said, they've continued to drop more colors of these lows, and they continue to be a hit every single time, even if some of the colors seem to kind of blend together and they're almost all looking the same at this point. But yeah, this is really where it all started. Travis said that he actually preferred low tops more. So it seemed like these were the ones right here, bro, like most definitely. So moving forward, we saw Travis Scott and Nike team up on another pair of colorful Air Force Ones. These ones were definitely, you know, ones that were going crazy back in the day. You guys see what's happening right here. This is when Travis Scott was really that guy. 2021, he was just elevating in all levels, you know, music, in the merch game. He was doing McDonald's collabs, you name it. Like, his name was pretty much just ringing bells everywhere, and everything that he touched turned to gold, including these SB Dunks, which are iconic, bro. Like, to this day, one of the best SBs that we've probably seen drop. You know, you got the bandana going on, you got the little paisley print going on as well with the thick rope laces. Like, these joints just set it off. And at the time, Travis was wearing a lot of dunk lows, kind of bringing a lot of hype to that silhouette. You know, a lot of people would kind of credit him to bringing the resurgence to the dunk low. And these Travis Scott Dunks, super limited, super hype, resale prices going crazy. And even looking back on them, like, these joints were definitely a fire, bro. Like, definitely a vibe. Now, of course, as I mentioned, Travis Scott's name was ringing bell. Everything he was touching was turning to gold. So it felt like Nike was like, yo, we could just slap Travis on anything to make any silhouette hype. So at the time, the Air Max 270 was Nike's newest addition to the Air Max line, their premier new sneaker. So they felt like, why not set things off with a Travis Scott collab, which I would have to say, I ain't gonna lie, these 270 Reacts have kind of aged like milk. You know, I'm sure some people love these sneakers, but as you even see from Nike, this is a model which is currently out of circulation. So there was some hype to the Travis Scott name attached to this sneaker, but honestly, I feel like it wasn't enough. And this was the first sign where we were seeing like some Travis Scott collabs that weren't really too hyped by the people. And then they continued on with the Air Max 1, which again is kind of the same story with the 270, although an iconic release. This is one that, you know, wasn't, say, as hot as some of his past Jordan retros, namely the 4s or the 1s, highs or lows. They then continue that on with the Air Trainer 1. And again, it's kind of the same story. It doesn't take away anything from how great these shoes are, but at the time when these released, remember, this was during the whole Astro World thing and everything. So it seemed like they were maybe putting out a little bit too much. I feel like at this point, they should have maybe hit us with another 4, maybe some other Jordan retros, but they just felt like the Travis name alone, they could slap it on any Nike model and it would be hype. So then moving forward, guys, again, the Mac and Rolls, what they call these, the Mac Attacks, backwards swoosh and all that. It brought some hype. You know, they tried to play us with the little Travis Scott, John McEnroe beef and everything. But at the end of the day, like, is the backwards swoosh enough to really move the needle on this? I feel like you'd be just fine with the OGs, you know what I'm saying? So moving forward, they've continued to just drop more Travis 1 lows. But interestingly enough, you know, after Travis bringing all the hype, you know, some of the most iconic Nike hype collaborations of the last 10 years or so, they finally gave him the opportunity to drop his very own silhouette, which we saw the Jumpman Jack, aka T-Rex debut. This is Travis Scott's very first Jordan brand model, featuring everything you would expect from a Travis Scott model: backwards swoosh, Cactus Jack branding, an array of different colors, you know, that all fit into the whole Travis Scott theme and everything like that. We saw them joints debut last year to a somewhat mixed review. I feel like they're still dope, but they're not really gonna bring the same hype that you see as like a Travis Scott Jordan retro. And on top of the Jumpman Jaxx, we also saw Travis Scott debut his very own silhouette with Nike in the Zoom Field Jaxx, which have dropped to, I guess you could say, moderate success over the last couple of times, even though it seems like they're super limited. And remember earlier I told you guys we have an upcoming release that nobody seems to be talking about? Well, that would be the Limelight version here of the Zoom Field Jaxx. And I gotta say, out of everything that we've seen so far, you know, with the neon green and everything, I think this is gonna be the toughest sell, you know, for the Jumpman Jaxx. They dropped the all white pair. People really didn't care. They dropped them nice little mocha leche blue joints, which nobody really seemed to care about either. And as far as this one being is that they're so loud, I would say this might be a Travis Scott drop that could possibly sit. Like, I know the hype beasts and resellers are gonna eat these up, but as far as across all the boutiques and retailers that they drop, I don't expect these to be an instant sellout like that. So let me know what y'all think, man. Am I right or wrong about these? I feel like, yeah, these most definitely could be sitters right here, but I would have to say, looking at them, they ain't too bad. So we just took a little walk down memory lane at some of the past Travis Scott releases. How many of y'all knew about these Travis Scott Jordan Trunners? Or how many of y'all were out here rocking the Travis Scott Jordan 3s? You know, some definitely hits as well as some misses throughout the years. We know the Travis Scott Jordan 1 Low is like an iconic staple. They do have the Fragment collaboration set to drop coming up later this year, but I think history has proven that, you know, although the Travis Scott name is huge, I think it's really all about the silhouette. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to something like this isn't gonna bring out the hype numbers that Nike wants, but say Travis Scott was to drop another Travis Jordan 1 Low, that's gonna always bring out the people. And the silhouette, which I feel like, I don't know why Nike hasn't gone back to, but why can't we get another Travis Jordan 4? I feel like if they were to drop something like this, it would pretty much just break the net. I really can't think of a sneaker that would be more hype than a new Travis Scott Jordan 4, executed properly, of course. They can't just drop some BS, but if they drop a hot colorway with the Travis Scott branding on a pair of Jordan 4s, bro, like that shit would break the net. So seems like moving forward, Travis is trying to kind of do things on his own, you know, get away from the Jordan retro thing, which they just keep dropping more and more. But this year we've seen them slow down a lot, more so focused on his new models. So we'll see what the future holds between Nike and Jordan brand. You know what I'm saying? He's been holding things down throughout the years. So I feel like it's definitely time for Travis to jump out on his own with his new models. I just think that some of these colorways just really ain't been hitting like that. And moving forward, would you guys like to see a sequel to the Zoom Field Jaxx? Would you guys like to see a sequel to the Jumpman Jaxx or a T-Rex? I would personally like to see them jump out with a brand new model, maybe say for like 2026 or something like that. But at the same time, hit us with a good Jordan classic staple, say something like the new Travis Jordan 4s or whatever model you name it. So drop your feedback down below. John Alexander TV, I appreciate you guys. If you enjoyed the video, smash the like button. I'll catch you guys next time. Salute.